Coming up this week on the Course of Life podcast, we've been waiting a long time to say it. It's been about 3 months, but finally PGA Tour golf is back this week. It's back. It's so back. Oh my God, it feels like forever. But I've got podcast exclusive picks, plus our thoughts on the tournament for who's going to win the Charles Schwab Challenge, plus some news on our broadcast this Sunday as well. And we've got a couple of great guests. First off, Jeff Jones. He's basically my local sports guy here in Austin with a football background and a love for grilling. We get into some of his grilling tips. Plus, we have hip-hop artist and activist Nick Moody on as well to talk about his music, his video content, and much more. But first, let's shout out our partners at betnow.eu, the sports book that has all the action you need 24/7 around the globe. Sports are coming back now, and they've got live lines up for the golf this week. So you can bet matchups or you can bet players to win this week at the Charles Schwab Challenge for any of the golf fans out there. And they've got all the other sports as well. And you can use our promo code COURSELIFE. That's COURSELIFE, COURSELIFE, to get you an additional 50% in your account when you deposit. Bring some action to this quarantine and the return of sports and join Bet Now today. Again, that is betnow.eu and the promo code COURSELIFE to bet and win now with Bet Now.
Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Course of Life, presented by Desert Fox Golf, Groove It Golf, and Quantix Golf. I'm Michael, he's Alex. And Alex, let's get into it. We actually get to preview a full PGA Tour tournament weekend. It's the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial this week, and a lot of things different about what's going on. Of course, there's going to be no locker rooms, no dining out for the players, testing 3 times a week for everyone, no families on the course. It's just, they're going to go and play.
Like I said, and I've been saying over the course of the last week or two, there's 2 aspects to this. It's like a thrill that we're doing this, and it's also a great unknown. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going to come of it. So this is week 1 of the test. When they first laid these return dates down in April, a lot of people were obviously very skeptical. I was optimistic merely because it was April, and that was a really rough time in my life as a sports fan, and I was just desperate for any news. So I clung to the hashtag golf in June for the last 8 weeks, and Lord help me, I have been granted my wish. We have golf in June. The tour's back. Like I said, a thrill and an unknown, but very exciting to say the least.
Yeah, that indeed. And I think my biggest question mark here is there are odds and lines up for these players for this week, but how can we know just how these guys are going to play? How can we know?
This is interesting because usually, you'd be looking at the odds and we'd be going through, I'm excited that I'm back in the pick circle. I did all my research this morning for this afternoon's recording, and it was interesting looking because usually when you're checking power rankings, you're checking recent form and what the guys did the last few weeks. Yeah. And for a lot of these guys, it's absolutely nothing. You saw a handful of these guys in the couple exhibitions in May, but unless you were really dialed in, like I was, and you were watching mini tours on Twitch streams on your computer during the day, you don't have really any gauge as to who could be hot and who's not heading into this first week back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question because you could think about guys that were hot during what we did play in 2020, like a John Rahm who has 2 top 3s in 2020. But I feel like it's a new season. We can't say this is 2020 anymore. This is 2020 BC, or really AC after COVID. BC was what we had before.
So after Corona, it had nothing to do with Christ at all. There, I love that reference. It's funny because I talked to Abby Wood on our Hot Mic stream a few weeks ago, and she asked me what was my favorite highlight of the 2019-2020 season up to this point, and I drew a complete blank because I was like, God, I don't even remember. Like, what happened in Hawaii? I don't know, something in California. I'm not really sure. And then it all went dark for a while, but it's going to be back.
Yeah, it is like what actually happened this season because we didn't get the players, we didn't get the Masters, and that's really, to the casual golf fan, that's the start of the season. So the season really never started to me with that. So let's look at who's playing. Let's talk about these picks. Some of these guys did play in some sort of competitive golf, whether on the mini tour events or whether they played in the driving relief match. from a few weeks ago. So let's start there. What do you think of Rory? What are his chances after being the guy who put it right up next to the pin to win the driving relief match?
It's just tough with these guys with these really low odds because Rory, we've seen him once, but that's it. And then he's 8-1 to win now at Colonial. Of course, in tournament, he hasn't played that in years.
Exactly. He's never played this event, so
it's hard to put my money there. It's such a low number. The lowest number I'm going to go with this week in my picks, and again, you can see them all at Course of Life 1 on Twitter. The lowest number I'm going to go is with Justin Thomas, who was the on-course reporter a few weeks ago. He's at around 12 or 13-1 right now. This is a guy who has had experience at Colonial as well, too. And I like him because he's got the power, and I think he can get aggressive and cut some of these corners. This is kind of an old-school shot makers, ball strikers golf course. I think he can mix in the power when he needs to, and also be the precision player. So that's why he'd be kind of my pick amongst the favorites.
Right. What do you think about having success at Colonial in the past, like a guy like Kevin Kisner who won back in 2017? Yeah. Do you think that
he's like
important?
100-1, which is crazy to me, even though he hasn't been playing fantastic in the winter months. That's definitely someone you want to look at. Ricky Fowler enjoys it here, hasn't played here a ton. I've got him at 35-1 as a pick of mine as well, too, to win. And then if we're going deep, there's also that aspect of guys that have been playing. I talked about rust on my appearance on Teeing It Up with Jeremy Schilling this week, and rust versus non-rust and players who have been teeing it up the last few weeks. Joel Damon at 100-1. I've been watching him play in several mini tour events. So this is a guy who's had the feel for competitive golf for the last couple months and hasn't taken that break. Whereas I know a lot of the other kind of elite players have taken that time away from the game a little bit. So if you're going with kind of a flyer like that, you might want to look at someone like Joel Damon at 100-1. So there's all sorts of different angles that you can play this week, and we'll see how much rust versus non-rust proves to be a factor.
That's right. I feel like that if we're going to have someone who's never won on tour before win, it's going to be this week. I just feel like the odds are in your favor that anyone could win this week. One
more pick I'll shout out. Again, you can check the rest out on Course of Life 1 and on Twitter. Shout out to Team Teo Gomez, who joined us last week, the PGA Tour caddy for Sebastian Munoz, who's going off at 120-1. This is a guy that just won last fall on the PGA Tour, and Teo told us that story about their victory at the Sanderson Farms. We know for a fact that Sebastian's been there in Dallas for a few weeks now. He's adjusted to the heat. You and I have been talking about that for the last week or two. It's going to be hot as hell there. Yep. So I like him as a flyer as well, too. Again, Course of Life 1 if you want to check out the rest of my picks for this week, though.
And you, at the very least, will be live this Sunday on Hot Mic. We'll have a stream from 3 to 6 with a watch party.
We're going to watch
it's going to be real exciting to see what happens. What have you in store
Cyrus
for everyone?
Jansen's going to be joining for sure for a little bit. And then we're going to get Casey Trickshots on. He wasn't able to join us the last time around for the Tiger Phil Brady Manning match because I wanted to have him on as a Patriots fan to talk shop about the season. But I'll get him on this Sunday because I haven't had a chance to talk with him in a while. So Casey will be on, and maybe one other guest as well, too. And hopefully we'll see you on there for some point Sunday afternoon. But the bottom line is you can watch with us. It's the Hot Mic app. It's a really cool way to basically have a fan watch party environment. You can sync your TV with mine, so we're watching at the exact same time, and there's no spoilers. Again, Hot Mic, HOTMIC. You can just download the app, and I'll be on there Sunday afternoon. It should be a good time as we welcome back the PGA Tour officially.
Corn Ferry Tour is returning just down the road from me in Sawgrass. Right. Bunch of guys who've been on this podcast are in the field.
Yeah, I'm on the PGA Tour app. You know how you can save your players, like your favorite players, on each tour. My list is growing on the Corn Ferry Tour with all these guests that we've had on here. So we got 3 in the field. Dylan Wu, you heard from a few weeks ago, and also Taylor Montgomery and Vince India, who we had on a while back. And Mike, I got lots of plans around the Corn Ferry right now. We got these 2 Corn Ferry tournaments in San Antonio in July. I think I'm going to head down there for at least one, if not both. I'm thinking I might be able to caddy for a player in the Monday qualifier for one of them. It could be a fun little content experiment. So I'm working on a lot of things with the Corn Ferry Tour as we get the full return of golf. It's good to see. Yeah,
like it. We talked about it during our weekend turn on Saturday. We both got to play golf this past week as well. I shot a 107, respectable.
Yeah, that's right in your wheelhouse.
No. It's right. For not having played in about a year, it's not bad. I'll take it.
Any highlight shots at all, or memorable moments or tee shots you hit on the day?
I had a couple really good outs from like really bad
That's
spots.
good. We're used to that. We're in those positions a lot. So.
My playing partner kept saying, "You've been practicing in your backyard. You've been practicing."
No,
it's like,
not only
I really haven't.
not only have I not been practicing, but when I do get out here, I just spend a lot of time in the woods. It's just a fact. So.
Exactly. There was one, I think we've all had something like this happen at some point. I did have this one really weird spot. I had to drop because I went OB on my tee shot, and I still, from where I dropped, I had this giant tree in the way of the green. So I had to hit a low punch so I could stay under this tree branch. Hit it, and went up a little too high, hit the tree branch. Went, I don't know where. I heard it hit the ground. We couldn't find it at all.
Absolute nightmare scenario.
It's like 2 lost balls. Just like, come on.
Speaking of the devil, with limited volunteers and people on course this week for the tours, thoughts on lost balls this week? Can it happen? That'll be an interesting thing to watch. Do we have a freak scenario like that where a ball just jets off into the trees and no one's there to see it? It could be fun.
I mean, how are we going to be hitting more provisionals?
So.
Do you
We're going to
think?
see a lot of 2 off the tee for sure. I like that. Yeah, I played last week, and I got my second round in the 70s of 2020. So I've been searching for the 70s for about pretty much since this podcast started. Actually, I'm finally back there. I've got 2 in the books now. Trying to compound more and more. The drivers finally work, and that's the key. I mean, when you're hitting straight drives, it simplifies a lot of things.
I mean, it's really, really nice when you play from the fairway.
10, 11 times in a round, too. It really gives you a leg up on your playing partner. So the course has been a lot of fun. And shout out to FlightScope as well, a new partner of ours. They sent me a Mevo unit, which is a really cool small data unit. It's basically half the size of your cell phone, and you can take it anywhere with you. It gives you live data. It's basically like a mini version of TrackMan that you can have out on the course or the backyard with you and chart all my yardages. It's really helped me practice a lot. Promo code COL10 if you want to check it out. Again, thanks to our partners at FlightScope. They're an affiliate partner of ours, and I've enjoyed practicing in the backyard. So maybe that's helped hone my game a little bit as well. Yeah,
probably. We'll see whether the chipping challenge you do every week will actually do anything for you.
See if I can get 2 in a row this weekend.
Finally. Let's talk about what we've been doing as quarantine start to wrap up. Mine, of course, has been over for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. Yeah. How long have I been back to work? I don't know. It feels like I never left.
What about, I know you mentioned last weekend that you were working on a hot sauce, and you showed it to me briefly. What have you used it on since we spoke on Saturday?
So really the only thing that's gone on since I made it Saturday is eggs. I'm a big fan of putting hot sauce on eggs. I do scrambled eggs in the morning, put a little hot sauce on the side. Good to go.
Add some cheese and throw that into a little tortilla too. That's a great little breakfast taco.
You know what though? I'm not a breakfast taco guy. I just don't. I can't go for it. I'm sorry.
What about the garden as well too? How's that going? Because I got an update for you on my plant.
Yes. I mean, we got 2 massive cucumber bushes that are just taking over our entire raised garden that we built in the beginning of quarantine. And we actually had some crop. We actually farmed it just yesterday. We took 2 off. It tastes like cucumbers. They taste good.
Normal.
Like
my only slight modification I do to cucumbers, if you're just bored with them as is you just cut them up and you just go with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper. Adds a nice little flavor to them. Very, very simple, healthy snack for anyone out there. So shout out to your cucumber plant. I thought I had a tomato plant going in my backyard. Breaking news, the stem and everything is turning super purple, bordering on blue. I think I got blueberries after all. I totally forgot what I threw in this pot about 4 or 5 months ago and just started watering it casually, and look what came. I think I'll have blueberries in a week or 2. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Not a bad thing to have either.
Not at all. Let's go book club time, and as we dive deeper into The Big Miss by Hank Haney on Tiger Woods.
Yeah, we got into chapter 5, which was distraction. We were looking forward to this chapter because we were looking forward to hear about everything else that happened during Hank Haney's time with Tiger. We know it would eventually lead to his downfall. I was kind of disappointed.
It wasn't when I was thinking distraction. I was thinking alcohol, hookers, drugs, infidelity, and horrible behavior. I was not thinking about the Navy SEAL training that he was doing. That ended up really being most of the distraction outside of one page. Yeah.
I mean, he really, for one page, really maybe one paragraph, actually acknowledged that there were other women involved in distracting Tiger, but he didn't know about it, so he didn't really comment
I hope there's
on
some
it.
more next chapter, but the bottom line is chapter 5 was called Distraction, and the distraction was really the idea that Tiger was very military obsessed, loved the idea of going to Navy SEALs trainings at various points in his career, and a lot of the speculation became that led to some of the more catastrophic injuries in his career, whether he wanted that publicized like that or not.
Right. It was this Tiger trying to compensate for being the skinny, nerdy kid when he came into college. And so he became military obsessed. He became obsessed with putting on a lot of muscle and becoming kind of Spider-Man or Superman. Sorry, not Spider-Man. And just kind of, it was... it's kind of surprising, and Hank Haney talked about it too for a bit, where you had Tiger almost seeming to be willing to let go of all he had done in golf so he could go be a Navy SEAL.
In 2007, he quite literally, in a conversation with Hank Haney, Tiger Woods said in 2007, mind you, he said, I'm done. I'm satisfied with what I've done in my career. He said that verbatim. And if you're taking Hank at his word in this book, then that is an unbelievably compelling thing for the greatest golfer of all time to say halfway through, right in the midst of this run when everything is going on. The Navy SEAL sessions were interesting to learn about. I knew that they were going on. I knew it was a thing. I did not realize that the extent of his injuries and how those were impacted directly by those sessions. So that was definitely pretty profound. And you're right. We thought the distraction was about the infidelity and whatnot. There was one brief sentence which I caught, which was exciting, and I marked it down on page 145, is that Tiger was rocking a flip phone so he could keep it nice and close to the vest so no one saw any calls or texts or what anyone was doing. Now, unfortunately, no spoilers here, but the phone ends up getting opened by the wrong person, being his wife, on Thanksgiving night. But I think we'll get to that eventually, right?
We will. I think we will. So the next chapter is really going to focus on the 2008 U.S. Open when he won on one leg. Yeah. So this is going to be a fun chapter to read through.
I always remember that week. I vividly remember watching that Saturday night because it was delayed, Mike, and they played late Saturday night on prime time because it was at Torrey Pines on the West Coast, and the Sunday finish and the 18th and the Monday playoff with Rocco Media. There's a whole lot to unpack there. So looking forward to that.
I mean, this was... We've said it multiple times. Tiger's U.S. Open victory in 2008 was when I became a Tiger fan. And then, unfortunately, quickly thereafter, was no longer a Tiger fan.
And nice tease. We'll get into that in the next chapter of The Big Miss. And that'll be on next week's book report. Yeah. Good stuff.
Let's get into this week's first guest. Alex, you got to talk with a local sports guy to you there in Austin, Jeff Jones. There in Austin. He's got a cool little background in Texas football, does some great game day grilling as well, which, we love our food here on Course of Life. So we'll get into all of that in just a moment. But first, we want to tell you about one of our favorite partners at Groove It Golf, creators of the Groove It Golf brush. It's pretty awesome, especially now when you need to clean your club on the course. And
I think if I'm going to go down this caddying venture, Mike, and change my career path in a few weeks here, I'm going to have to order several of these. Have them on demand and ready to go.
Yeah, you should.
My secret tool.
I like it. It's. I mean, yeah, you need it. It's unique to any other golf accessory, which will put you ahead of other caddies because it's got a spray pump inside. So you can have a cleaning solution or water or whatever you want to clean that club face so you can really get those grooves nice and clean. It's got detachable magnets so you can get it on and off the bag really easily. And if you happen to wear out those bristles within the first 3 years, you can get a completely new brush with their 3-year bristle guarantee. Pretty awesome. So you can make sure that when you're caddying for those players, Alex, they're going to get maximum backspin, distance, and accuracy with each shot. So head on over to grooveitbrush.com and get your Groove It brush today.
Next up, we have the sports director for KView News in Austin, Texas, where I reside. He's also got a lot of really cool game day grilling content as well. We'll get into that. It's Jeff Jones joining us. Jeff, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Alex, man. Can't wait to really dive in here and chat sports, chat food, and chat.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll start with Texas because that's our commonality. I told you before we hopped on. I'm working out every day during the 6 p.m. broadcast at Planet Fitness and always seeing you on. So I figured we'd get on and just chop it up because I know you're big into sports and the food scene as well, which we love to talk about. But just talk about kind of growing up in Texas and obviously playing football. You know, for someone like me who lived in the Northeast, I didn't quite realize how intense high school football could be. But just talk about growing up in the state of Texas and, Friday night lights and what football means to you.
Man, Texas and football mean everything to me. So I've lived in a few different cities in this awesome state. I was born in El Paso, raised in Houston, went to college at Trinity University in San Antonio, and like you said a moment ago, I work now in Austin. So I'm just checking off the big cities on my Lone Star tour. I played high school football at a pretty big at that time 5A, the biggest classification at that time, high school in Houston called Cy Falls. And like you said, those Friday night lights, man, high school football is everything. I remember at Cy Falls, I played in front of 17,000 fans at one time in the playoffs. It was the fourth round game against Katy. It was actually my last game of my high school career. Andy Dalton was the quarterback on the other team, and
Nice.
he got the better of us that day. But to play in front of 17,000 people as a 17-year-old, I remember just being like, wow, this is different. This is incredible. And
It
then
is, yeah.
going from there to like a D3 college, which was awesome. Love my time at Trinity, but at a D3 school, you don't play in front of 17,000 fans. So it's just funny to compare the two awesome experiences.
Yeah, it's crazy. People have that kind of old adage that like the whole town shows up for like a Friday night football game in Texas, but that's actually not a lie. I've seen it with my own eyes since I moved here and gone out to some of these cities outside of Austin too that have unbelievable crowds. Really, really neat to see. And let's talk about Trinity as well, a smaller college in San Antonio. So tell me a little bit about. I see your when you've been doing the at-home sportscast. I saw your jersey in the background. What was your college career like, and kind of the biggest takeaway from playing in college as well?
The jerseys are hanging right behind me right now, Alex. I'm sitting in my home studio, and you made me look back and reminisce on my college days right there. I had a great time playing college football and high school football. I started my career in college at safety, but moved down to outside linebacker. I've always been a defensive guy. It was just a great time. And really, when I think about my career, though, I don't think about things that happen on the field. You think about the relationships that you create off the field. And I'm in group text right now with several of my former teammates. I got like a linebackers group text going on, and then just a really close group of friends group text going on. And those are bonds and relationships that will last forever. We've been in each other's weddings, and it's awesome to me how sports can build those bonds. And it doesn't matter if you're playing at Texas, USC, Alabama, or if you're playing at a place like Trinity or Mary Hardin Baylor, Hardin Simmons, Texas Lutheran. If you're in a group and you guys have a common goal together, you're going to bond. And that's my favorite part of sports.
Nice, cool. And then, so what position were you a linebacker yourself? What did you play mostly on the field?
Yeah, I played outside linebacker mostly. So on a good day, I was the guy doing the hitting instead of getting hit. And on a great day, I'd grab a few interceptions and maybe take them to that painted area over there.
Nice, love it, good stuff. The pick six we all strive for on defense. I appreciate that. And so, in school specifically, you went to get a communications degree, a second degree as well too. So I kind of went a similar route in communications. And for a lot of people that know that field and what it's like, there's that kind of daunting thing when you go into broadcasting. It's like, all right, you may be like kind of bouncing around a lot of places. I know you always wanted to get back to Texas, and I think you got back to Texas in pretty good time, but just talk about kind of like what was like the job bounce around like for you, after you graduated school in the broadcasting industry?
Man, this industry can be so scary at times. Like you said, you bounce around from place to place, and as if that's not bad enough, just living here for 2 years and there for 2 or 3 years, there for 2 or 3 years, you're not getting paid much at all at the beginning.
Right.
Sometimes you're working for free for a year or two at the beginning to get things going. So the industry can be scary. I've been blessed, man, just blessed beyond belief. I was actually a teacher, a high school teacher for 4 years. And during that 4-year stretch, so I'll just take you through what my day used to look like. If I was working out, I would wake up at like 5:15, 5:30, go work out before I'd go to Lee High School in San Antonio and teach. I teach there from about 8:30 through 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'd end up leaving, and I would go straight from Lee High School. It's still Lee High School. They kind of renamed it, but it's still Lee High School, to News 4 San Antonio for an internship. And I would stay at that internship from about 6 p.m. to about 10:30. And I did that for the better part of 4 years. And so a moment ago, I was telling you about that free work. That was that free work that I had to put in. And because I was getting that great experience and putting in all that work, I had a few opportunities pop up for jobs in this career field that I was able to turn down because they weren't in the right place. The salary wasn't right. And I did that until the right job did come along. And the right job happened to be at the station where I was interning. So my first gig was in San Antonio, in my home state. I was there for 2 years. Then I went out to Raleigh, North Carolina, college basketball capital of the world. You got Duke, North Carolina, NC State, NC Central, all those schools right there in like a 30-mile radius. And I got to cover those big time programs along with the Panthers in Charlotte for 3 years before moving back here to Austin. But yeah, bouncing around is a very, very real thing. For some people, it's scary. For my wife and I, it was exciting because at that time we didn't have kids. So we were like, yeah, wherever the job takes us, we'll go and we'll travel and see the world and or at least see the country and taste food from all different regions and check out this ocean and that mountain range along the way. And we got to do a few of those things in our journey back here.
Nice. And it sounds like you're enjoying it here so far. Before we get into the Austin sports scene, just tell me kind of what your thoughts are on living here. You mentioned you're kind of doing the Texas tour and you're familiar with the state, but what's it like kind of living in the city full time? Like I mentioned to you, I just visited real quick for a friend for a weekend, and here I am 10 years later, still loving it. But what's your experience been so far?
Heck of a weekend, huh, Alex?
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, seriously.
Man, I love it. Austin, it's really like, what do you want to do? What do you like? You like music? We got it. You like sports? We got it. You like food and unique family restaurants? We got them. So whatever you want is right here in town. For me, I love food. I like cooking it. I like going out to restaurants. I like eating good food and trying new foods. And so that's been my favorite part of town is really the food. This weird social distancing pandemic, this time that we're living in, it's been tough to not be able to actually go and sit down at some of my favorite restaurants or some new restaurants that I wanted to cross off the list. But, that time will come again soon. And when it does, Alex, Lucy's Fried Chicken is number one on my list. Have you been there?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I haven't. And so everybody talks about it and I'm just sitting there. My mouth is watering at these conversations. I check out the pictures on social media, but I've never tasted it. So when I get to go back to a restaurant, that's number one.
Good news, bad news. Good news there is Lucy's still got locations open. However, I did hear they just closed the one that's got a beautiful view of Lake Travis out off the road there. I
don't know if I should say this on the podcast or not, but that is so close to my house. Like 2 miles away from my house.
Yeah. It's a great area.
And it's not opening back up. Man.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. Yeah. So you'll have to confirm that for yourself. But I know they got other locations, and that's one of just many amazing spots here in Austin. You're right. Like, it's like whether you even want it or not, you're just going to become a foodie if you live here long enough.
Yeah.
You're just going to engross yourself in the culture. And that's why I love about kind of what you do and what you've done. Because, just kind of, speaking forthright, your sportscast has changed a lot in the last few months. There hasn't been quite as much going on. It's just been all about, when sports is going to come back, and obviously we're getting things back like the PGA Tour and soccer in Europe, and plans are in place for things in the next few months, and we'll see how that all comes. But I want to talk now about game day grilling. Have you been doing that since kind of before your KVU days, or is that just something that got introduced to you as a concept for you to do as segments here in Austin?
That is brand new, and Alex, that is my proudest thing that I've done in this industry.
Nice.
Is to talk my job into giving me one day a week where I get to grill, which is something I love to do, and I get to show the viewers how I do it. And my favorite part really is interacting with the viewers on social media, because I make my ribs one way, my burgers, my steak one way, doesn't mean it's the only way or the best way. And so I've been getting tips from them as I'm sharing tips with them. And so for those who don't know, Game Day Grill and what it is it's a segment that airs Friday nights in the 10 o'clock show on KVU. And I get to pick a dish that I'm going to prepare on the grill, whether it's burgers or ribs or skirt steak or pulled pork. I make it, and I make it along with tips from local athletes and coaches. And so we've had Texas offensive line coach Herb Hand, who loves to grill and has a ton of knowledge. He helped talk me through a few things. And Texas pitching coach Sean Allen helped me talk me through a few things. And so it's just been great. The best part is eating it, but the journey there is almost as fun.
Yeah, no, it's cool to watch you work along the way and kind of solicit that feedback and advice from everyone around town. And yeah, Herb Hand, for anyone who doesn't know him, offensive line coach of the UT football team, he's basically become like famous for his cooking through the Longhorn All Access show on the Longhorn Network. There, you got to see that up close and personal. But let's just talk about some of the things that you have been grilling recently. The first one I want to comment just because it's something that I'm actually a little timid to do, which is ribs on the grill. To talk a little bit about that specifically and some of the tips that you were incorporated into your rib recipe because it came out amazing.
Man, that's been my favorite one so far. I love those ribs. They were super tender, fall off the bone ribs. And so what I did was I used this 3-2-1 strategy. And so the ribs, they spent 3 hours on the grill just with the dry rub that's on them. I want to say this time I used black pepper, seasoned salt, paprika, garlic powder, and a ton of brown sugar. I like the sweetness that brown sugar brings, so I'm not going to be shy with the brown sugar at all. And so with that rub on both the meat side and the bone side of the ribs, I let them sit on the grill for 3 hours uncovered. I pulled them off at that 3 hour mark. I wrapped them in foil, put some apple juice in there, some butter, and a little more brown sugar, wrapped them up tight so that keeps the moisture trapped in there. Put them back on the grill for another 2 hours, and that's where they really get tender and get that fall off the bone aspect, the quality in that 2 hour window. I then unwrapped them, put them in my favorite sauce, which is just a cheap HEB brand. I think it's called their Texas sauce. It's delicious. This like cool mix of sweet and spicy. And then I put them back on the grill for another 1 hour. And Alex, these things were falling off the bone. They were tough to cut. They were so tender. They were just delicious.
That sounds awesome. And it's interesting because everyone loves that idea of cooking Texas barbecue on the smoker and like kind of sitting around all day and waiting for things. I love that kind of like low and slow prep for the ribs there. That sounds like a fun like Saturday or Sunday afternoon activity for anyone who's enjoying their grill as well.
Yeah, that's it. And it's exactly that. It's an all day activity, and you know the payoff's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah. The other one I want to talk to, because I called you to task for it, and I wanted to ask about your thoughts on burgers. So we had a chef that I did an Instagram live with a few weeks ago that did a live burger demo as well too. So we're big on the burger conversation. I asked you regarding onions because we're team grilled onions, and I want to just get your thoughts on onions on the burger because you had an interesting one in your message you sent to me privately, and just how kind of you like to prepare your burgers these days.
So that's what we're doing, Alex. We're putting our private messages out there in the public now.
We're getting right to the onion debate that everyone needs to hear about. The public needs to know, Jeff.
Yeah, all right. Well, I can't keep it from them. Alex, I'm not an onion fan. All right, I'm not. I like the flavor sometimes, which is weird because I don't know if it's the texture or what it is, but I like the flavor, like using them in cooking. Like sometimes I'll chop up half an onion and put it in my mac and cheese when I'm cooking with it.
Oh, wow.
But to put like a raw onion on a burger, to me, is destroying a burger. So I would never do that. Would I have some grilled onions on there? Sure, maybe from time to time, but I mean, it's not my preference, but I probably wouldn't pull them off. Now, what I will do sometimes, though, is put some onion powder in the ground beef before I cook it.
Yeah.
So that's again giving me that flavor without the onions. Say it one more time for me.
Yeah, I appreciated that part of the suggestion. I wouldn't have even thought to just skip the actual onion itself and just go onion powder. It seems like you work with a lot of different seasonings on the grill.
Yeah, I do. And really, it depends on what I'm cooking. Sometimes I'll just go with the simple like seasoning rub blend that you can buy off the shelf. You know, it's a hamburger rub or a steak rub. But if I'm actually making my own kind of rub, then yeah, I'm going to use a few different seasonings. And onion powder is one of my go-tos. Garlic powder is one of my go-tos. And seasoned salt is one of my go-tos as well.
Love it. Definitely a good combination for flavor, for sure. Yeah. So that's just kind of a tidbit of game day grilling. Again, it's the Friday 10 p.m. newscast, right? And you can check out those videos online, I'm guessing, as well, too. So we'll be looking forward to more of those in the coming weeks, I'm imagining.
Definitely. You know, on Friday 10 p.m., if you're not in front of a TV right then, that's okay. Like you said, you can catch them online. At Jeff Jones Sports is my handle on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And all throughout the week, I'm actually posting pictures and videos from my preparations for game day grilling. And then obviously Saturday morning is when I post the full video of the week. And so you can check them out really whenever you want to. But I will warn you, you need to have food nearby because you're going to get hungry when you check these videos out. So don't go in there and set yourself up to be starving.
Yes.
Have food nearby when you're watching games.
We tend to do that a lot here on the podcast. So that's a good warning for everyone listening there as well, too. Yeah, it is Jeff Jones Sports on IG for all those pictures as well, too. So let's talk quickly kind of about some off the board questions and the sports coverage as well. You know, you mentioned that, you know, the sports cast had changed for you in the last few months, but let's just kind of talk more in general about the sports scene in Austin. You know, obviously everything for those who are outside of the city, everything is kind of centered around the Longhorns, starting with football and basketball, and you go out to other sports from there. Myself being a golfer, it's been great to have things like the Dell Match Play and the potential for the MLS stadium that's being built out here. But just kind of what are your favorite aspects of covering not only the Longhorns, but just Austin sports in general?
Love Austin sports. You know, when you said that everything really centers around the Longhorns and especially football, you hit the nail right on the head there. And so one of my favorite things that I've experienced since I've been here in Austin, which is coming up on exactly 1 year now, it's just a few weeks away from being exactly 1 year, seeing and really feeling the crowd at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium during a home football game is unlike anything else. And, you know, I've been to a ton of pro football games. I've been to NFL playoff games. This is different, though, to have 102,000 people all feeling the same emotions at the same times. You know, when you see a ball go through the air and you hear that gasp, and then you know, hey, this is going one way or the other. Everybody's going to be disappointed or everybody's going to be happy based on what this receiver does when the ball gets to him in less than a second. And you feel that, it's awesome. Awesome is the only word that I can think of right now to describe it. Branching off of football and basketball, you know, I've had a lot of fun watching, honestly, softball has probably been my next favorite experience covering sports here. And I hate that those ladies saw their season come to an end so soon.
Right, yeah.
Because, you know, they ended the year as the number one ranked team in the nation. Like, they had a legitimate chance at making this season historic, special, memorable, amazing, whatever you want to call it. And it was cut short. I hate that for them, but it was fun to watch them play and dominate when they were able to play.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. And that way you vividly described the moments at UT football games and that crowd rush and the roar of the tailgate and just that build up around the stadium. It really is unique for someone like myself who's been to a lot of
I didn't even mention the tailgates. I love that you brought that up. Yes, those are fun too.
Man, $20, all you can eat, all you can drink. It's a fun Saturday there when that gets going for me. So I know you're working.
You call it a fun Saturday. I call it a complicated work day.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know you're working it a little harder than I am, but what are your thoughts, Brett, based on that? Actually, I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, there might be limited crowds. What are your thoughts on maybe like a DKR at like 25% capacity this fall? That could be a really interesting look for that stadium and just kind of the culture of football in Austin coming up here as we go through the summer months. It sounds like that might be a realistic thing.
Yeah, the first words that are popping into my head: strange, weird, unprecedented, safe. You know, it really doesn't sound right, and I don't think it's going to look right, but it will be the right decision if it's potentially saving lives. And I talked to Jake Spavital, the head football coach at Texas State recently, and he told me what he thinks is going to happen. And I'll admit, this was probably a week ago. And with this crazy virus and this wild time that we're living in, things change by the day, by the hour sometimes. But a week ago, Coach Spavital told me that he thinks what's going to happen is a staggered, a tiered, a gradual approach to getting fans back in the stands. He said he doesn't believe they're going to open the season at full capacity. Maybe they open the season at 10%, 20% capacity in the stands. But then by the midway point of the season, I don't know if medicine will have evolved or what by then, but by the midpoint of the season, he thinks that there will be maybe 50% capacity. And by the end of the season, we might be back up to what we're used to.
So that scale could slide. That's an interesting footnote because a lot of people have been treating it as if it couldn't change. And that number for capacity might never change. So definitely encouraging to hear. One other football question I wanted to ask you, because I know you mentioned, I saw somewhere in your bio, you're an Auburn fan. Do you have a connection specifically to the Tigers at all?
War Eagle. Yeah, I lived in Auburn. My family lived in Auburn from the time I was 3 years old through sixth grade. And
Oh,
so in those formative years, especially in a town the size and the feel of Auburn, which feels a lot like College Station. I'm sure some of your listeners are familiar with College Station. Auburn and College Station remind me a lot of each other. And so I grew up in Auburn, and if you grow up in Auburn, you are all in on the Auburn Tigers. My mom was a professor at Auburn University the entire time we lived there, so everything was orange and blue. And matter of fact, everything still is orange and blue. My
nice. I love
dog,
that. So I'm
my
curious.
dog's name is Obi. We
Oh,
have
nice.
Auburn ornaments on the Christmas tree. My 5-month-old daughter has all these Auburn onesies. We are all the way in on Auburn, Alex.
Nice. You got good perspective. I'm curious to get your perspective on this then. So myself being from Boston, lifelong New England Patriots fan, and things are going to look a lot different for the Patriots under center now. We've been just blessed beyond ages with Tom Brady and 6 rings, but it looks like an Auburn alum and Jarrett Stidham might be the heir apparent here based on the way things are unfolding. What are your thoughts on him maybe as a pro and potentially, it's going to be hard shoes to fill, obviously, but I've seen some signs of I want to be all in on him as a potential future of the Pats. What are your thoughts on his potential in the league?
I think he has outstanding potential. Honestly, I don't know that he was used as well as he could have been at Auburn, which hurts me to say. But, putting him in that system at Auburn, we were, I believe, hoping for the best. But if you're actually building a system around his strengths, and that coaching staff in New England is going to find a way to do that, I think that you're setting yourself up for great success. I could see him doing really, really well. At times in college, I felt like he looked a little timid. He would maybe feel the pass rush or see the pass rush a little more than you want your quarterback to. But that's been figured out by now because that coaching staff up there in New England would have sensed that by this time, I believe.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think you have good things in store for you.
That's exciting. Yeah, I think they're going to do a good job of just simplifying things for him right off the bat. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that Jarrett Stidham area might look like in New England. So again,
I need to see who's going to pick up my man Cam Newton. I thought you guys were going to get him for a moment.
I was wondering, you always want, whenever anyone hits the free agency market, you always get the GIF reply of Bill Belichick, putting on his goggles at the combine. He's always got his radar on everyone, it seems like. But yeah, well, I'm curious to see what happens with Cam Newton as well. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. But again, it's at Jeff Jones Sports on Instagram. Jeff, thanks so much for hopping on with us. My final question for you, because since we talked about game day grilling, is I guess let's leave a tease for everyone and tell everyone what might be coming in the pipeline. Is there a recipe you've been wanting to try or something particular that's going to go on the grill soon that you maybe haven't done yet for Instagram yet?
Yeah, so I guess if you check on Instagram, you know that coming up this weekend, I'm going to have burgers. And these burgers are great. There's some tweaks that I wasn't familiar with until I talked to Coach Allen. And so he kind of dropped some knowledge on me. So we have a new school approach to an old school delicious treat, being a burger. Some things that I want to try. Alex, I've never made beef ribs before. So I think I've got to try them out 2 or 3 times, mess them up a little bit before I actually do them on game day grilling. But I want to get beef ribs going. And man, I was so close to buying some pork belly today at the store. But pork belly tacos are delicious. I've only had them at restaurants. I've never made them at home. So those 2 things, I don't know when they're happening. Maybe those are July things. Those 2 things I believe are coming up next month.
Yeah, the photos of the beef ribs will be great. For anyone who hasn't seen a beef rib, it literally looks like a dinosaur's bone. So Google some image of that right now. It should be a fun cook for sure. But hey, Jeff, thanks for hopping on, talking grill and everything going on in sports, and look forward to watching you nightly on KView. Thanks again.
Appreciate it, Alex.
And we're back. Great chat there with Jeff Jones. I'm a little disappointed he's not an onion fan, but at least he will go grilled onions.
Yes, he will. He picked grilled onions over raw onions. Obviously, he may not be an onion fan, but he's not insane here. So yeah, it was great. It was great to have the debate with him, chop it up, and talk about his game day grilling content. Look forward to hearing and seeing a lot more from him. Obviously, hear from everyone in Austin. You know him from the Austin sports scene. So great to have Jeff on the podcast, and appreciated the knowledge drop on his grilling techniques too.
Yep. Let's talk about our Patreon real quick. Again, $2 gets you some exclusive content. You can support the podcast, pay a little more, get a little more exclusive content.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool stuff going on right there.
Vlogs, basically, as we start golf now. So I'll do a weekly, things to know and just the quick notes that you need to understand for each golf tournament on the PGA Tour. So that's going to be up. And then I'm also going to have a really cool blog that will accompany our upcoming interview here with Nick Moody. It's a neat piece in which I kind of delve a little bit more into his background in our conversation as well. So look forward to that on the Patreon.
Yep. So go ahead and check it out. We do make some stuff free on there as well, so you can get some cool content there. And if you like it, you can give us a couple bucks to show your support and get even more cool stuff. But let's get into Nick Moody, like you just talked about, rapper. Not our first musician on this podcast. So we had
Kelly James a while back, who was big in the golf community.
He was one of our first, I think,
actually. I found Nick through Instagram. I just absolutely loved his lyricism. This is a guy that has a writing background and a big basketball background as well, too. So we get into his athletic background, how he turned to music, everything that he does with his shows, and he's a really cool follow that has some amazing content as well.
That's right. But first, before we get into that interview, let's talk real quick about the Desert Fox phone caddy, because this was the first time I've played with a golf cart. So I got to use my phone caddy, and it was so awesome to have that phone Velcroed on to the side of the cart. Really easy. Took like 5 seconds to put it up there. Easy to access. Take it in and out real quick if you need to take pictures or whatever. Just fantastic.
Love that. I'm sure you were getting some looks from the other people at the club. I'm like, oh, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, I was. My playing partner was like, that is awesome. Nice. He loved it. It's fantastic. So really cool. You can keep all your yardage and scoring apps open on your phone and have it right there, so you don't need to be digging for your phone after each hole. It's the most functional way to keep your phone safe and ready on the course at all times. And you can save an extra 20% off your phone caddy with promo code Course of Life. You can get any different color combination you want. They got a whole lot up on their website. So head on over to desertfoxgolf.com. Use promo code Course of Life to save 20% and get your phone caddy today.
Next up from Brooklyn, New York, he's a rapper, writer, activist, and a whole lot more, really bringing you in with his music and video content, and he reeled me in with his flow for days as well, too. It's Nick Moody joining the Course of Life. Nick, how you doing this afternoon, man?
Pretty good, man. How you guys doing? How you holding up?
Doing very well. Awesome. Thanks you. I appreciate that. I want to get into your background, obviously being Brooklyn. I know you got a lot of sports connection too. So I want to take a quick guess and then you can fill me in on what your teams are. But my guess on your teams is you're probably Yankees, Giants, and maybe Knicks or Nets. I wasn't sure how that worked with Brooklyn, but what's your background?
Very close. Yankees, Knicks for sure.
Okay.
But my dad is an Oakland Raider fan, so I'm an Oakland Raider fan. Well, now
are you going to go with them to the move to Vegas?
Yeah. Just the Raiders in general, Vegas Raiders. I
like that.
Yeah. So those, I know a little weird with that one, but
very cool, awesome. So you grew up in that area and played a lot of basketball as well. That's your background athletically. Just talk a little bit about and you'd been rapping for 2 decades now, a long time since you were little. But talk about playing basketball growing up and what that was like for you in the city area.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I started as an athlete. I really wasn't, musical as a kid. My family's more into sports, so that's what I did. And I just kind of, growing up in Canarsie, that's what you do. You play basketball. So I moved to Long Island when I was like right before high school. So I had a whole basketball background. So when I moved to Long Island, it was just like, why not keep it going? And just fell in love with the game, and I kept playing. And then when I got to college, I had some, setbacks and injuries, and I transferred, and I still had a pretty good college career, but that was when I started performing music and stuff like that, and I fell in love with the music side of things.
Yeah, what was that transition, or maybe not transition, what was that moment like when you found music specifically? I know you did a lot of English lit study for your degree in school and whatnot, so you kind of had that writing background and that sensibility to put words together and paper to pen, but what was the moment where you realized that you actually wanted to kind of pursue this more?
It came much later. I had always been a writer. I was always, very involved in English and, all that kind of stuff. I'd read poetry, and then I got slam poetry and all that stuff. And then, hip hop and basketball are kind of synonymous. They kind of go hand in hand a lot.
Yeah.
a lot of the time, like just the culture. And I've just always been around hip hop, always loved hip hop. And my teammates encouraged me to start rapping. And I started doing it, and I was just doing it for fun because I was still on the team, and I just didn't really have that much time in school. And then when I got out of school, I started doing the shows under the name Nick Moody. And I remember my first show, and I just got on stage, and it felt right. It felt like I was supposed to be on that stage. It felt like just the best rush I've ever had, even more so than I ever had playing basketball. So it was right there. That was that moment. And that was about like 3 years ago, I think now. So I quit everything, quit my job, did everything, and I've been all in on the rap ever since.
Very cool, man. And I really admire the craft and the specific type of delivery that you have. There's a lot of different flows out there and a lot of different ways to navigate hip hop tracks. I love the kind of different deliveries that you have. You've got kind of this, machine gun rapid delivery, but also you have that piercing delivery with the punchlines as well. Just talk about kind of how you first started rapping. What was it first like, and how it's evolved over the years for you?
I was bad.
Yeah. Took some time.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I started later in my life. So, and what I did, the mistake that I made is when I first started, I would put out the music that I was making. Don't do that.
Hold on to it for a little bit.
Yeah, like hone your craft a little bit. You know what I mean? And but I got better and better. I was approaching it more as if I just was like line by line. Like there was no flow to it. I wasn't really moving with the music. And, as time went on, I started to combine all the things that I know, which is, I have a different cadence. A lot of people usually tell me I flow with a different cadence. And I think that's because of all the poetry that I grew up on. And, studying in college, you read all these like T.S. Eliot's and the E.E. Cummings, and, then you start getting into more prose type of approaches. And so it's like everything became more conceptual, and as time grew, those concepts started matching the flow, and that flow started matching the beat just better and better each time. And that's been the most exciting part probably for me, is just because that to me is still the best part, when you sit down and you hear something and you start writing to it and you record it, and it's everything that you thought in your head it would be. And
yeah,
that's what it's about. So it's been exciting.
Very neat. And that linguistic background that you have, and the understanding of the language from your degree, it really runs through the music too. You're kind of and this is the one of the highest compliments that I like giving, is you're a re-listen rapper. Like lines like flow over your head, call a stewardess is a good example. Just things where there's not many re-listen rappers off the top of my head. You can't name very many that are out right now. And your music makes people want to listen 2, 3, 4, 5 times and figure out everything. It's like kind of constantly solving a puzzle, listening to your track. So I've appreciated seeing that from a distance. Has that always been what your tracks were like, or did it take a long time to get to that moment where you were able to put together, similes and metaphors that were consistently that like cunning?
I'm sure they've gotten better over time. But I think back in the day, I always kind of had those metaphors and those kind of punchlines. I just had no idea how to deliver them. You know what I mean? Like that was where I struggled. Like there's an art to placing them and knowing when they should be and setting them up almost, you know what I mean? And especially when you're trying to draw a point home. And that's always what my music has been about. It's been about substance, and it's been about, trying to make a point and say something outside of just your typical rap song, because I'm not your typical rapper. So
not at all. No, I appreciate that. And again, it's Nick Moody _ on IG, nickmoody.com, where you can watch some of your show videos from your most recent tour as well in the Northeast. The crowd reaction is what I love watching your content, because it's different from the typical hip hop show. The reaction from fans is more like, what the hell is going on? Instead of like the typical, like jumping around and head bobbing. Talk about what, from your perspective, when you get those different crowd reactions based on what song you're playing. You talk a little bit about it in your videos, but what's that feeling like for you looking at the audience?
It's the best. It's the best. You turn somebody into a ghost in the front row. It's just like a feeling. I just don't look the part, I guess. So when I walk into especially like a showcase where there's like a billion different kind of people who don't know me. When I first open my mouth, that they don't expect what's about to come. And it's interesting. Sometimes it's hard to kind of gauge it, because I do make different arrays of music. Like sometimes I could do the trap style if I want. I have some songs like that, but a lot of the time I'm just like I just love rapping, and I think that really comes to the forefront, and it always gives a different reaction. Sometimes people are like all in it, going crazy, and sometimes it's just silence of people staring at me. And like those are like almost better, because it's very weird to be at a hip hop show and have everyone be quiet. And sometimes that's happened a couple times before, where people are really paying attention to what I'm saying, especially when I do some more a cappella stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's awesome. I that's, you want people to listen to you. That's what the goal is. So, I love performing. I always say it because it's really why I'm doing this. It's been tough during this quarantine that I haven't been able to. But I've tried to find ways around it with like doing Instagram lives and stuff like that. So, it's the whole reason why I do it. So.
Very cool. One of the things you do with the audiences, and I hope we'll be able to see this again real soon. I love the way you help incorporate audience members into building a beat for you that you can rap over. Very simple concept, but you do it a lot at your shows. I want a little throwback hip hop reference that I get going through my head every time I see you do this is Lil Wayne, the Carter 3. One of my favorite songs on that classic hip hop album was called Let the Beat Build. And there was a song where Lil Wayne was just rapping over a beat that was slowly building into a crescendo. And you kind of do something a little bit similar with the audience. Just talk about that moment and how you decide to create that and do it pretty often now.
Yeah, you know what? It started when I was doing So Far Sound shows. Those are like those more intimate shows that you do in like, people's living rooms and stuff like that. And those are really catered towards, singer-songwriter people who are, playing acoustic guitar and stuff like that. And I play a little piano, but I'm really not comfortable playing it in front of people yet. I'm working on that. But I was thinking like, how can I do this? You know what I'm saying? I had my buddy play guitar with me, but I just felt like it wasn't enough. How can I bring everybody into this and make everybody a part of it? And I just came up with that idea, and it really, really worked. It was just, everybody was having a good time, and we built it ourselves, and it was probably the best beat I ever rapped on. You know what I mean? And it was just natural.
I love that, and we're gonna see thousands doing that one day too. We'll get that in unison. Absolutely.
Can't wait for that one.
Definitely. One of the cool things I also saw online in your content is you've done some really cool freestyles, especially the one for Shade 45. I'm curious, just talk about kind of like freestyling and that whole art within hip hop itself too. And, what that experience has been like for you doing freestyles. And have you ever messed around in terms of doing like any battles or anything like that? I feel like you'd just be absolutely delivering just some real haymakers if you ever did a battle or something like that.
A lot of people talk to me about that. I'm not really, to be honest, I don't follow the battle rap circuit as much as I could. I respect it. Some of those guys are the most lyrical people you'll ever meet on earth. And the way they deliver things is really awesome. I just haven't, I don't know. I just haven't gotten into it yet. Maybe I should, honestly. I don't know. But, just rapping with sometimes, you can get caught up in the concept of a song and lose the fun of it, and the freestyles and stuff like that, and rapping over old school beats. You can kind of just have free reign and do whatever you want, and just say, it doesn't even have to make sense sometimes, as long as it's clever and ties back into what you're saying. And it's just, that's part of what hip hop is trying to bring people together. And, that especially with Shade 45, that was awesome, sitting with Lord Sear, and he played a couple beats for me to just get my point across and just represent who I am. And, freestyling is the best way to do that,
Had to be an interesting moment sitting in that studio, because obviously just growing up, being a hip hop fan and knowing Shade 45, that was definitely, I'm sure, a small, I'm here moment for you.
Oh,
it must have been very unique.
That lobby, you know what? It was a funny story. I was in like the lobby waiting to go in, and Sway walked out.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He recognized me from South by Southwest like 3 years ago.
Shout out to Austin, Texas, where I live right now.
Hey, there you go. I love Austin. Rainy Street is where it's at. So he recognized me, and then before I went in, he's like, "Oh, maybe we'll get you up here sometime." It hasn't come through yet, but that'll be the next step. I can't wait for that. So
man, yeah, it's too bad South by got canceled this year. Hopefully, see you back there next year for sure, though.
Yeah, I was.
Again, it's Nick Moody. Some other random questions I wanted to get to watching your videos from shows online. Great content to follow. Regardless whether or not you're a hip hop fan or not, you're an authentic artist, has a really cool story to tell. One thing I wanted to shout out was my original hometown of Boston. The genesis for this podcast is myself and my co-host. I'm a Boston sports fan. He's a New York sports fan. So we always go at it about that. You were driving through Boston though. And the one thing that I do agree about with my former city where I was born and raised is the roads are an absolute mess. So talk a little bit about your time in Boston. I moved away from those roads, but how crazy is it driving through all those one-way streets?
It doesn't make logical sense. Like these roads are like, oh man, they're like small, but then they get wide. And then like, where are we? Where are we right now? These houses are on hills, or are they not? I don't know. And then, oh man, it was fun though. I loved Boston. We had a good show over there. People really came out. So, it's an interesting city. I got in a lot of arguments with cab drivers over the Red Sox.
Sure.
I can't help it. It's just in my blood to argue with you about the Red Sox if you're from Boston. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I appreciate that. That was funny to watch. And then, you also mentioned that video when you're touring, your days are busy with sound check, show and whatnot. One funny thing I want to get to, though, is how you have combated the biggest problem in hip hop, which is punctuality. So it's very well known that rap shows are always running late, but you're a punctual guy, just like I am. Yeah. So how do you deal with it? What's your secret to being on time and late at the same time?
No, I haven't. I still don't have the secret because I'm still not there on the right time. Like I'll go an hour and a half late and I'm still early. So I don't know how, I have some friends that are just like, that are that I work with and that I rap with that are just in tune. They're like those guys that kind of wander and then they could just show up whenever they show up and it'll be the perfect time. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be more like them, but it's not working so well because I come from that athlete background. You know what I mean? Like if you're supposed to be there at 7:30, you're there at 7:15. You know what I mean?
Right. You got the stretch and the shoot around, the pregame pep talk,
That is not how it is. Creatives do things much differently. So it's been an adjustment and I'm working on it, but I don't know if I'm there yet.
Interesting. Yeah. And so the flip side that I wanted to talk about is your days off. You don't get a ton of them. You talked about rare Sundays off for you, but what does that actually look like when you do have that full day where it's like, wow, I don't have a show. I'm not needing to get something done in the studio right now. I have the day to myself. What do you typically do to relax?
Whew, I don't know, man. I can't remember the last time I had one of those because I still work. You know what I mean? I still have a job too. So, for me, I don't really have those days. But when I do, I just like to sit down, read. I do a lot of reading. Actually, I'm not reading as much as I'd like to right now, but I usually read or just watch something. I like that new show, Dave by Lil Dicky is so dope.
Oh man, I just shouted that out a couple weeks ago on the podcast. This quarantine content to get into, man. Very original. And that's a guy I saw at South by Southwest, 4 or 5 years ago, but performing on small stages, and look where he is now. He's done amazing things with his writing, and you could absolutely do the same too. I love that show.
It's the thing about him is just he you said it. He's just so original. Nobody has been like him and produced content like him. Like that pillow talking video is something I have never seen before. Like that what he did with that, and the show is no different. So kudos to him, and I hope to do the same because rap is rap, but we're in this to be creative. At the end of the day, so.
Definitely a lot of ways you can write for sure. One thing I wanted to get to is we always finish off with some sort of food related question because we finish off our conversations and episodes that way. And you have a great food bar that you deliver, which is they wanted beef. I turned 5 guys to 5 boys. So I want you to just real quick, that's a re-listen line for a lot of people too that need to hear that a few times. Break that line down. And then also we need to get into your favorite burger spots. Is 5 guys your spot or is it maybe something else?
No. That bar in itself, you want beef. This is usually your classic, feud that goes on between people, and that gets rappers do that too much, to be honest. But 5 guys is your classic burger joint, and turning a guy into a boy via beef would be the ultimate punchline. So
yeah. So what's your go-to now? Is 5 guys your favorite, or is something else supplanted that recently?
Well, you're not. This is a Long Island staple. All American. It's on Long Island.
Heard of it, but haven't been. Yeah, familiar with it.
That's the spot for me. Just like a classic old school place. It's got like the whitewashed kind of open window, pull up, drive in kind of feel. Yeah, there's not a chain or anything. There's only one of them. That's definitely my favorite spot for sure.
Very cool. What do you put on your burger typically?
Just I mean, I like sriracha every now and then, but mostly just ketchup, you know.
Keep it simple. Like it. Awesome. I appreciate that. Hey, Nick Moody, before we sign off, I want everyone to get in hyped and anticipate what's coming up next for you content-wise. You mentioned the quiet ones and the releases throughout 2020, but just talk about kind of what your plan is. You said you're doing a lot more live broadcasts to get in touch with the fans, but what sort of content can we look for in the next few months from you?
You know, and then what happened is, you know, I had such a plan for this year of dropping projects throughout the year, and it kind of got derailed by everything that's gone on. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of like a back against the wall approach right now. I'm just going to release things as I go, and I dropped 3 different songs so far, three videos: Hysteria, Shooter's Roll, Bare Hand. I have another video coming next week for the song Amen I Have. I think it's a really powerful video that we worked on. Kind of takes us through the history of man via the song.
Oh, okay.
And then, I'm just going to have plans to drop a lot of music in the next coming months. I can't say because I don't know. I'm kind of going, you know, flying by the seat of my pants right now, kind of figuring it out as I go, because this is kind of uncharted territory, you know, the times we're living in. So just going with the flow. And I can promise you I will be dropping a lot of music. You can find it on nickmoody.com, Nik Moody, Moody. And I'm on Instagram, same way, Nik Moody _ Twitter, all that stuff. So I'll be dropping a lot. I can't say what.
No, I appreciate it. It's the time to hit everyone with the content over the head. Do it now, because we're got a captive audience right now. So appreciate you putting out the music and taking the time to join us on the Course of Life, and look forward to following you down the road. Appreciate it, Nick.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
What happens to a dream deferred?
Check.
What happens to a dream deferred?
One time. I had hoop dreams, and they taught me about the true things, like how to pick yourself up by your shoestrings, and how to bring yourself down from a mood swing. I stand next to LeBron like now there's 2 kings chosen. I bet you think that I'm a failure. I bet you do everything that your mama tells you. I bet you think you're alive, walking in line, but you never even cried after G-Baby died. I'm serving tables just to turn the tables. The angel hair is from Naples, and we got herbs with basil. I'm so sick of the spiel at every meal, but it paid the bills so I can say how I feel. My ears ringing, I'm a little off kilter. They think that I've wilted, tell them they gotta chill. Keep it 100 like Wilt. I know you think I'm a square, I know you do, but I turn into a diamond when you look with a tilt. There's something that you should know. There's something that you should know. I'm always true to the code. I'm always true to the code. Cause when it all falls short, man, I'm getting the shooter's role. There's something that you should know. There's something that you should know. I'm always true to the code. I'm always true to the code. Cause when it all falls short, man, I'm getting the shooter's role.
What happens to a dream deferred?
And we're back. You just heard Nick Moody's Shooter's Roll right here on the podcast. Thanks to him for giving us this track, and we'll play one more
Absolutely.
at the end of the podcast as well.
Love Nick's lyrics. Like, you can tell that he really takes the time to put pen to paper and really kind of craft his verses better than the average. And he's a great follow as well, too. I appreciate him taking the time to come on. And Mike, he's like you. He was getting in arguments with cab drivers in Boston over the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. He sticks up for New York sports for you there. He's on your side.
Go Yankees. I mean, the Yankees are the best team in baseball this season.
We'll get into maybe more of that debate if we have him on again. But shout out to Nick Moody again. Nick Moody _ on Instagram. Follow him. He's a great artist. You're going to hear a lot more from, and appreciate him joining.
Let's, for the second week in a row, talk about fears of the week.
Just these returns of sports. Like, I just don't know when. There's a lot of maybe right now.
Maybe they're returning. Major League Baseball can't. Oh man, it's just such a mess.
I fear that baseball is really going to screw themselves over this season, and they're not going to get off the ground. That's my fear.
I don't think they're. I think what you're hearing is that they're not going to get off the ground this year, and then they're going to strike, and we're not going to have a season next year either. This could be the end of Major League Baseball as we know it. That's like worst case scenario, and I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy, so I'm bracing for that.
Anyone else on Twitter just sick of seeing the updated proposals that are going back and forth from the owners to the players? They're on like number 7 right now. It's like, just stop alerting me and let me know if they've reached a deal. I don't even care. So NHL and NBA seem to appear like they got their head on their shoulders a little bit more. They got plans to return late July. It's weird. It's interesting the way they're going to do it, but they have a plan in place, so shout out to them. The big kind of thing that's kind of looming up in the air now is obviously the NFL. We're starting to get hints that obviously the schedule is on time. We don't really know what's going to happen in terms of training camp as we inch closer to July, though. So that's the big question mark right now in terms of sport returning.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I still really question whether the NFL will get off the ground.
It's going to be with no fans to start, that's for sure. And obviously, when we talked with Jeff earlier in the episode, he talked about that possibility in Texas and saying, it could be a slow build. And we could start with no fans. And then by week 3 of the college season, we could go to 10%. And, we could go to, 20% and then 30. And by the end of the season, we could be at full capacity. Who knows? So I like that idea that we're hearing from the athletic directors in Texas for the college front. We'll see if that translates over to the NFL as well.
Yeah, we will indeed. One other thing I want to talk about in terms of fears of the week is my current city of Savannah being a finalist for, quote, the basketball
TBT,
tournament.
The old Midsummer
TBT.
Classic where everyone piles their money together and puts together their best amateur team to win dough, basically.
Yeah, well, amateur team or
they got some reject pros. Like basically, you'll get together and be like, "Hey, we're like the former NBA guys in my friend circle that I can get together to form a team to win some money." That's what the basketball tournament basically is.
Yeah. So supposedly Savannah is in the runnings, one of the finalists for this tournament. Would kick off either at the end of June or beginning of July. No fans, fully televised on ESPN. What's most hilarious about this story is that the governor has been pushing for this here in Georgia. The mayor didn't know it was a possibility until like 2 days later. The mayor's office was never notified that the governor was pushing
must have just got lost in the servers. It happens all the time. Obviously the governor's office, could definitely let them know. I don't know what happened. Must have just gotten lost in the mail or something like that. Who knows? But a little lack of communication.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's probably not how it went down. But let's hashtag always have food.
Yes.
To get into it.
Shout out to our partners at Love with Food as well too. They make a great snack box that you can get a discount on. I'll put it on our Facebook page. Just go to our Facebook page, Course of Life Podcast. Again, Course of Life on Facebook for 20% off your first box of snacks from Love with Food. I had one bad meal out and one good meal out, Mike. I talked to you last week how I was making my return to dining at restaurants.
Yes, because we had birds chirping. You, of course, decided to do a little outside staycation in Austin. So you recorded outside, birds chirping in the background all through last week's episode. Real distracting. Thanks for that audio.
I had all these plans for a beautiful waterside lunch. Me and my wife were so excited. And we get there and the restaurant's absolutely not in a condition to be open in the post-coronavirus era. Pretty much all the tables were dirty from the night before. The only difference that the restaurant made was that they wanted you to order inside and then just seat yourself outside. Nothing else had changed regarding the servers, the employees, or anything like that. So we basically just immediately took food to go as soon as we assessed that situation quickly and walked out just to save ourselves the trouble. But fortunately, we amended that on Saturday. We had a much better meal in Austin at a very safe restaurant that took way, way more precautions than the first go-round.
Yeah. Much better.
So good.
Much better. And and now I know we've been talking about it for a few weeks, this ghost pepper queso.
That's right.
That was coming to you.
Yes, it's just to my right. Let me open it up right now here. We're doing a live bite on the podcast. So Jake from Settle It challenged me to have some of this ghost pepper queso. It's from Stonewall Kitchen. So got this sent my way. A lot of people talk about ghost peppers in terms of being a spicy pepper. When they're mixed in with a dip like this, I don't find them to be too bad. So I'm really wondering what the challenge is now from Jake. I'll communicate with him this week. I'm curious to see how fast I can finish this entire bottle. Not to be too cocky, but I'll do one live bite for you right now while you talk.
I need to ask the question as you're getting ready to take that bite. So what's your typical, how do you handle hot foods? Are you like, I want my wings hot and spicy and I want to be burning up? Or are you like, I'm kind of tame? Where are you on that scale?
I'm kind of tame. I can go hot and spicy though, just knowing that I'll just start sweating under my eyes and I'll just need an extra paper towel or napkin. But besides that, I'm fine. I can handle it in my tongue, my mouth, my throat. It's never really an issue there. It's just more so with just like outward sweat, which is slightly embarrassing to say the least. But
that's okay. So let's do it. Take a live bite of this. Great audio. Great ASMR right there.
Okay. So the ghost pepper is hitting my tongue right now. If I start slurring my words, you'll know because it's a pretty hot pepper. But there. All right, it's about 10 seconds of heat, and then it's fading down now, and I'm back to my normal self. So I think my goal is to maybe clear this whole thing by the end of the week. That's gonna be my Jake from Settle It. Okay. But it's got the spice. So shout out to Stonewall Kitchen, and shout out to the Settle It app too. It's where we do our live wagers, and we love just wagering on random stuff like that. So we'll see if I can handle the heat, and I'll let you know by the end of this week if I get to the bottom.
Fantastic. I know I feel like I need to bet you to see how quickly you can finish it. Yeah, so maybe
that's the next Settle It. So you challenge me there. Everyone check out the Settle It app, settleit.app.link/courseoflife if you want to sign up through us as well too. Thanks to all of our sponsors for helping us out, put this podcast together in the course of life. We'll leave you with some more Nick Moody. This is our guest this week. This is Bare Hand. Everyone have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Look, let me tell you about my regimen. Wake up. And it's all about the Benjamins. They think I appropriated, they think I'm a gentleman. Killing first takes to the max like I was Kellerman. Megatron, but I ain't lying, throw me a bomb. Got your girl sweating me in the bedroom. That's Peloton, veteran, y'all just messing, y'all smoke ganja. Maybe something new or lean, you're like a pelican. Helmet on, y'all can't target me with a pellet gun. Ain't it obvious I'm a problem? I'm the elephant, hella fun. Y'all keep saying that you're the man, that's not an S on your chest, that's the S from the Sheraton. That's fingers crossed on the skeleton. Goddamn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Chill, that's fingers crossed on the skeleton. Goddamn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Look, I got a soda bear, so hold my beer. You're done. After the show, you're like a folding chair. Over there, talking about that hoe. My thugs are in harmony. How you think I got backbone? I'm right before Tato. It's waiting till that blows. Cause I don't play games. AB in the black hole. They say I'm a madman. I might sell tobacco. The music's a trash can. You might be an Astro. I feel like I'm back though. I feel like the last hope. I'm bringing in Mo in the ninth. I'm not letting the grass grow. That's factual. Beat on Lupe, let's fiasco. Waiting for the action, I figured that you be Hasbros. Fingers crossed with the cracked bones. God damn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Chill, fingers crossed with the cracked bones. God damn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Look, I'm hard to read, so let me spell it out. M-double-O and the D. Why are you selling out? Sketch it out. I draw blood, y'all draw foreign. I don't like to waste no lines on soft coursing. This is not the curtain call on encore. I just stopped the grip that punched the dark horse. I used to box out, boxed in by box scores. So I Tyrion the throne went rogue and stopped short. I just dropped the stack that I copped up my sock drawer. And I'm breaking all my chicks to the 10th like sophomores. And I don't really like to circumvent. In fact, all of the people at my job would massage me when the stock soars. Fingers crossed, more like God's door. God damn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Chill. Fingers crossed, more like God's door. God damn, how'd I build a brain with my bare hand? Y'all should've never gave me confidence, man.